I have brought together the best drivers in golf for an epic head-to-head battle.
And this test is going to decide which driver is in my bag for the 2024 season.
Which of these driver brands is going to rise to the top and be crowned ultimate champion? The result, it shocked me.
But firstly, I'm a changed man.
Last year for the Build My Bag series, all I was looking for was just pure power. I wanted the ball to go as far as humanly possible, but not this year. This year, I'm a more mature man. This year, I want something which is powerful, but I also want something which is forgiving and offers a level of accuracy. In other words, I just want the complete driver.
So for example, I have already tested out the Titleist TSI 4 and the Cobra Dark Speed LS, and they are both absolutely monstrous drivers when struck well, but when you hit them off the heel or the toe, I find them very unforgiving. So straight away, they are eliminated. Also eliminated at this early stage, we have the Wilson Dynapower Titanium, the Ping G430 Max, and the Cobra Dark Speed Max. These are all really good drivers, but in previous testing, I know that they all spin a little bit too much for me and my game. If you are looking for forgiving drivers though, especially these two, they're worth checking out. And for a slightly cheaper option, which still packs a punch, the Wilson Dynapower is beautiful. Some honorable mentions here in both Mizuno and Srixon. So both these companies are making some really good drivers. They're starting to compete with the big boys, but all the new heads, they're not quite spec'd up for me yet. So it wouldn't be a fair comparison in this battle of the bag. But again, these drivers are worth a look at. Another thing which would be worth a look at is subscribing to the channel. We are almost at 600,000 subscribers here on YouTube. It will be fantastic to have you part of the community. So if you haven't already, if you're a returning watcher and you haven't done yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button.
The factors that I'm looking at in these remaining drivers, I'm looking at ball speed, I'm looking at accurate distance, I'm looking at sound and feel, and of course, how it just looks behind the ball. Whichever driver has the best combination of these factors, they are going to be declared the best in the world. First up, we're looking at ball speed. Ooh, very nice. Ball speed, very simply put, is just how fast the ball leaves the face when struck. So my swing speeds for this test are a little bit down from last year. So I'm going to be swinging between 115 and 118 miles an hour. If I'm feeling particularly frisky, I could get it up to 120, but that is not the point this year. I'm an in-control person. For these tests, I'm going to be using my gamer ball, the TP5 from TaylorMade, and of course the wonderful GC Quad to get all my numbers. I'll also be using the same Venter shaft. Now there may be some different lofts in the head during the testing, but if there is anything significant which could alter the data, I will let you know. But most of the time, I can get these drivers around 7.5 degrees. Ball speed is down to a number of factors, but the key number that we need to be looking for here is efficiency or smash factor. Efficiency is calculated by dividing the ball speed by the clubhead speed. The closer this efficiency number gets to 1.50, the better the conversion. When the strike wanders off the center of the club, this efficiency number tends to drop. What I'm really looking for is not just speed out of the middle, but from around the face, because that is a measure of how forgiving a driver is on those off-center strikes. So the top three drivers for ball speed. In the first place, we have the TaylorMade QI10 LS, closely followed by the Callaway AI Smoke Triple Diamond. And in third place, we have the Ping G430 Max 10K. Now, throughout this video, as you will see, we're going to be having a running points total, and the driver which finishes top of this little league table will more than likely be going in the bag. Now, TaylorMade QI10 LS, this was an absolute beast, it has to be said. And one of the big advantages of this driver is I can lower the loft. It's an 8-degree head, but with this shaft sleeve, I can actually crank it all the way down to 6. Now, during testing, I didn't do that because what I was finding in the initial testing at that super low loft,
is I just couldn't generate any spin at all. This is probably the lowest spinning driver that I've tested in years. However, it just springs off the face really, really fast. Very closely in second place was the Callaway AI Smoke Triple Diamond. We're talking maybe half a mile an hour slower on average, but that does exactly the same as the QI10 LS. It looks good behind the ball, is very low spinning, and it just feels like you can create a lot of club head speed with it. Certainly to my eye and maybe to better players, looking at it behind the ball, it's just tasty. One driver that I wasn't expecting to be so quick was the Ping G430 Max 10K. That was a surprise. Normally to create a really forgiving driver, that actually tends to sacrifice ball speed, and I couldn't crank the loft low enough to compete, certainly with the TaylorMade. The lower the loft, sometimes that can actually contribute to more ball speed. So getting that ping up there that high, that's piqued my interest.
As mentioned, what I'm looking for this year is that balance, that harmony between distance and accuracy. I don't want this ball to be flying a million miles, but the dispersion, which is the key word here, to be absolutely all over the place. If the driver was really short and accurate, that probably wouldn't be ideal, because I still want to be able to shift the ball off the tee. Likewise, I don't want a driver which is a million miles down towards the green, but is in the thick rough. And after weeks of smashing countless drivers away, the best balance between distance and accuracy are
the Ping G430 Max 10K, followed by the Callaway AI Smoke Max and the Cobra Dark Speed X. So, this Ping, wow. In many respects, this might be the most important category of all, and I would say maybe the biggest surprise of all as well. I have to reiterate about this driver. This is very much one of the most forgiving drivers out there on the market today. Now, one of the ways which manufacturers make these drivers forgiving is to increase the amount of MOI, which they've done with the Ping. The weight is pushed a long way back in the head. The ball launch is high. It has a lot of spin. It shouldn't be going this far. And it's a similar story with the Callaway AI Smoke Max as well. You know, it's engineered to be a very forgiving driver, and yet I'm managing to get some decent distance out of it. It seems to be that the manufacturers now are really upping their game in this section of the bag. A forgiving driver which isn't just about getting it up in the air and finding fairways, which actually adds some oomph and some excitement. A really nice surprise was the Cobra Dark Speed X. During initial testing, I thought it was good, but actually the more and more I've hit it, the more and more I've liked it. I wouldn't say that it's quite as forgiving as the Callaway or this Ping, but actually the data was very, very good. I will say there is one strange thing about this Ping, and it's a fantastic thing as far as I'm concerned, but I don't understand why. Simply put, I can find the middle of this Ping just more consistently than a lot of other drivers in this test. And I don't know why.
Unfortunately, you and me, we ain't going to be striking the ball from the centre of the club face all the time. And that is where forgiveness really comes in. As a driver comes through impact and is struck from outside the centre of the face, the club face will twist. The less it twists on these off-centre impacts, the more forgiving the driver. Also, modern driver faces, they're better engineered to try and help the ball get back to target. If we can find a crossover between ball speed, accurate distance and forgiveness, we could have a winner. The most forgiving drivers are the TaylorMade QI10 Max, the Ping G430 Max 10K, and the Callaway AI Smoke Max. These drivers, honestly, during testing, they've been some of the most forgiving that I've ever hit. Not only just that, but they actually packed a punch and went a decent distance. I think manufacturers generally are pushing towards this a little bit more, trying to figure out what the maximum forgiveness is they can give, advertising that fact, not being afraid of it, and then adding a little bit of a punch as well. So for me, TaylorMade, well done.
Now, obviously, this is one of the most subjective areas of the test, but I would say that this year, and over the last 12 months, there have been some really good-looking drivers released. So in order, we have the TaylorMade QI10 LS, very closely followed by the Titleist TSR3, and rather surprisingly, actually next up is the Cobra Darkspeed X. So the two best looking drivers for me, I mean the QI10 LS, from the top it looks amazing. Actually from the bottom, I think this is such a futuristic, cool looking club. Now, TaylorMade in my opinion do that quite well. But what they've also done with this one is on the crown of the club, whereas normally they would have like a quite big bit of titanium, well, biggish bit of titanium at the front, and then a sweep of graphite behind, such as within the Sim series of drivers. The crown on the QI series covers, I think it's 97% of everything that you can see, and it's all carbon fiber. But they've not made it look shouty, they've not made it look crazy, they've just made it look so sleek, and the shape of the LS behind the ball just looks really good. It is very reminiscent for me of the Titleist driver, which unsurprisingly got second place. Now this is the TSR3. I think Titleist are going to be releasing new drivers in September. They normally have an 18-month run of models, but this behind the ball is just so simple. It's so sleek. There's nothing too kind of fancy about it. Yes, there's tech involved, but when you stick a Titleist driver down behind the ball, it is just synonymous with good ball striking. It's the brand that I was desperate to use as a kid. You know, Tiger used it when he came out, Rory. Everyone remembers Titleist Rory. So these two behind the ball, yeah, just look to my eye absolutely fantastic. That might not be the case if you're a little bit unconfident with your drivers. You know, they are splayed open slightly. Again, to my eye, that looks great. One thing I wasn't expecting to like so much behind the ball was the Cobra Darkspeed X. So this is the standard model of the Cobra Darkspeeds this year. And when I was first testing it, I thought, that looks good. Like the LS looks really nice as well. But the X just looks cool. It looks pretty sleek. There's nothing crazy going on. But Cobra drivers for me, and I don't know what it is, it's obviously something about the design, they just seem to sit nice and square behind the ball to my eye. And again, this comes back to personal preference, but I would say that that was a surprisingly good looking driver.
Sound and feel. Now, these are some of the most important factors to consider when buying a driver, because they are inextricably linked to how you will emotionally attach to the big stick. If you want an example of this, just try and hit some shots with earplugs in. Honestly, the club just doesn't feel the same. They are linked in to your senses. Now, it's subjective, and to be honest, that's fine, you know, because it has to be the best driver for me and my game, so I'm absolutely okay with that. So for me, the best feeling drivers in golf are the Ping G430 Max 10K, the TaylorMade QI10 Max, and we've not seen it all test, but we have the PXG 0311 Black Ops. Now, again, feel is something which is very subjective. However, I would have to say that Ping, for whatever reason, I just can't not find the center of it. So the Ping G430 Max 10K, I mean, why did it feel so good? It's an interesting question. For me, and I don't know what it is about this club, for whatever reason, I seem to strike it out of the center or near the center more than pretty much any other driver in this test. That is remarkable in many respects, and it's something I found generally with the G430 range. They do have their strengths and weaknesses, but for me, my ability to get that strike near the middle of the club face without trying anything different, I don't know why it was happening, and I wish I could explain it a little bit better than I am. But for me, that club, it just seems to work better at striking out the middle of the face. I'm not going to argue with the results. As mentioned, the TaylorMade QI10 Max, I think that's such a big improvement from TaylorMade products last year. And I'll say again, I think that carbon face is the best iteration that they have done. The PXG 0311 Black Ops making its first appearance in this test. It was a relatively solid performer all the way around in every category, but when I was striking it near the center of the club, it felt so strong. Like, there's a few drivers that you hit and the ball just seems to explode off the face. And that really was one of them, and the sound of it was very, very impressive. The only weakness for me, again going back to one of the big themes of this video, is it just wasn't as forgiving. So decision time. I don't think I've actually hit this many drivers in a month ever. I am kind of getting sick of the sight of them. The TaylorMade QI10 LS. This for me going in was probably my favorite, just because of the way it looked. And I have used TaylorMade drivers for the past 3-4 years. I just like the way they look, I like the way they sound, I like the way they feel, and I'm comfortable with it. And you know what humans are like, you know. So to move away from that is a little bit tricky, I've got to be honest. But it is impossible to look over the one standout winner, the Ping G430 Max 10K. It's the best driver I think that's been released this year. It was unexpected in many respects because of what it was offering, that level of forgiveness whilst actually controlling spin, and the fact that I can hit it out of the middle. These are all miracles, in my opinion, so I'm going to be very much looking forward to this year, sticking that club in the bag, and hopefully finding a few more fairways without losing distance. I am excited to get out on the course, playing in comps, and seeing what it's really made of. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. If you want to check out some of the newest releases that have been coming out in the golf world in 2024, click these videos here.